call the March CJCC meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can we do a roll call?
James Slender,
Present.
Lorraine Gouget, Mark Helwig, Gary Hogendorf,
Present.
Tom Hawk,
Here.
Jeff Johnson,
Here.
Kathy McCoy, here, Doug Motek,
Here.
Bruce Paquette, Ryan Reed, Jeff Schley,
Heather Lassard for Jeff Schley.
thank you, Tweed Schuman,
Here.
John Yackel.
He said he was not going to make it.
Do I have a quorum?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in attendance out of 13.
You have a quorum.
Okay.
And it's all rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will be in compliance with the meeting clause.
This meeting has been known to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of the Wisconsin statute.
Everyone has had a chance to look at the agendas. Any questions? If not, we're going to move on to public comment. Is there anybody here in the room that's not on the agenda that wishes to address the committee? Is there anybody online? Nobody's online. All right, moving on then to minutes from the previous meeting. Has the committee had a chance to review the draft minutes that were presented, that are presented?
We would have added these
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, so we'll table is it February's minutes for the next meeting.
I think I updated it most recently though, so it's available right here if you would like
Right, but
to table it.
we'll just table it and
Okay.
have an opportunity for everyone to review that. Next, we're going to go to the Criminal Justice Coordinator update, which So under the Criminal Justice Coordinator update, you guys present any MOUs? Okay. Mr. Schuman, how do you want to proceed with this? These are the documents that came from LCO, and they're going up in front of the full board, right?
Correct.
So we have two issues here. One is we have an agenda that's been approved, but items upon which the item heading is not appropriate for what the issue is. But we still want to receive an update from Justice Point, which I think maybe in the future agenda, we'll just put Justice Point update. And then if there's no criminal coordinator update, and then if there's any documents that would have been separate. So,
You know, the online version, Mr. Chairman, is correct though. If you guys have it online, number 8 is update to the CJCC bylaws.
and while number 8 is Criminal Justice Coordinator update is what I have on the agenda.
On the paper, yeah, but online it's correct.
Can I see what the online version looks like?
That's what I have.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's what we have, Chairman.
That's what
How did I get this?
Is it, what's over there? The same thing? Okay, that's what could,
Is that a good one, Doug?
oh, the one that he has?
Here, why don't you take mine?
I'm afraid to see what you got on your computer.
I know. Well, don't scroll on
All right,
They
so
were updated.
what a number 8 update to the, well, let's make sure then. Is there any questions about the agenda now that we have an opportunity to all right, we're going to move to number 8, which is updating the CJCC bylaws. Madam Clerk, can you recognize that the tribal court judges came in the meeting at 12:07? Elaine Smith is in. All right, so update to the CJCC bylaws. Under item A, we have a memorandum of understanding between the Recruiter A tribe and Surrey County regarding the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee. This is so Rita, are we approving it? I thought this was already approved by the
No, public safety did, and we're gonna
So this is
approve
just
it.
information only, right?
Correct.
All right, so.
It's
for
coming to the full
information
county
only-
board tomorrow night, though.
Right, so this is just information only. There's an MOU that was negotiated between the tribe and the county regarding a travel portion to the funding for what is essentially our criminal justice coordinating council's contribution to the criminal justice system, which has manifested itself in Justice Point. So is there any questions regarding the MOU? There's no vote on this matter. And then the second item B is an amendment to the same MOU, which is also going up in front, and that is to allow for a recognition of the voting capacity for the tribal court judge for the Coudray. Is there any questions or comments about that?
No, just that we really appreciate that you're adding our judge to the voting member of this committee.
No comment, it doesn't require any action. So the next is an amendment to the Sawyer County, to the CJCC bylaws, which essentially is recognizing the addition of the tribal court judge in a voting capacity. So that would make us 14. So from now on, we would need 8 members present for a quorum. Does that require a motion and a vote? Do we have Rebecca on the phone? Mr. Hopp?
Yes.
My parliamentarian, does the amendment to the bylaws require action from this committee?
No, the memorandum and the amendment are there for background as we change the bylaws. So the MOU acknowledges the addition of the tribal judge to be a voting member of the CJCC. And so if that gets approved at county board tomorrow evening, that would require a change to the CJCC bylaws. So under C, the bylaws have been revised to acknowledge that change. So I would make a motion pending approval of the county board of the MOU tomorrow evening that we approve this change to the bylaws effective after that approval.
And so I have a motion from Mr. Hopp on the floor to approve the bylaws amendment as presented in the package.
Second.
Second from
Mr. Murphy?
I'm the only one who's dumb enough not to wear a mask right now. So. All right, so I have a second from Sheriff Morochek. In discussion, is there any questions, Ms. McCoy?
Will require them to file 3/4 of the majority of the appointed
So,
member.
Ms. McCoy, I need you to move closer to the mic. As normal.
It just says in our current bylaws and under section B, item 2, that it requires 3/4 of the majority of the appointed number of voting members and then confirmation by the county board of supervisors. So I guess it's a procedural question. I want to make sure we do it right. Do we need to have 3/4 of the voting members of the?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, there is a bit of a conundrum between the bylaws and what happens at the county board. So normally, if a change to the CJCC bylaws is brought forward by one of the members, then there's some rules on how that gets approved. But we're kind of being preempted by county board action. So if the board takes an action that says this committee shall have another member, I don't think that the CJCC could not acknowledge that. So that's why I made a motion pending that county board approval. Because I don't think that CJCC would have a choice in the matter. So I think the county board kind of dictates and supersedes the process of the CJCC.
Mr. Hopp, how about we do this? If you could clarify your motion, and then Sheriff, if you were amenable to this clarification, is that we know that the MOU and the MOU amendment placing the tribal judge on the committee is before both this committee and it's going to be before the full board. This has been gone to public safety, which is the parent committee for this committee. That Mr. Hopp's motion is to forward on from this committee an approval of the amendment to the bylaws And so that after there's an action from the county board, then we bring this back. And then in the April meeting, then we would notify the full board that we would need 3/4 vote to approve the amendment to the bylaws as presented and as requested by both the tribe and by the county. How does that sound? Other than way too long in sentence.
Sounds good.
Mr. Hop,
It's just, let me pull up the bylaws here.
so Mr. Hop, what you're doing is, what I'm asking for you to consider is that when your screen shut down, tweeted, there's a real weird screen saver I don't look at. So there's what I'm asking for you is, if your motion could just be a recommendation from this committee to advance to the full board, consideration that we approve the amended changes, and that after the county board makes its actions, without being presumptuous that they'll, not deny it, then in the April meeting, we would come back and then would provide notice to the full board that everyone needs to be present for that vote. Mr. Hop.
Yeah, Kathy McCoy, where are you reading the 3/4?
I am reading it under section D, adding position number 2. I mean, I'm totally in favor of this. I just want to make sure that it doesn't come back.
Mr. Hop, would you be amenable to amending your motion or clarifying your motion to that effect?
I was just reading this here. Do we have 3/4
No,
present?
not at the current time. We have 7 present of the current composition, and we have the best wishes of the remainders, but they're not here to vote.
Reed has joined us.
That still puts us at 8. 8 of 13. Who's the math people in here? And we need 9. Mr. Hoff, if you could amend your motion, we could effectively set this for a vote for in April.
You might have 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Surrender. Sylvandor, Paul, Jeff, Kathy, Doug. Reed now. Oh, Reed.
Well, I'll remove my motion if somebody wants to make a different one.
Doug, you,
So I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
well,
So you-
Sheriff, you rescind your second?
Yes.
All right, so that motion has been rescinded. Let the record reflect. Mr. Schuman.
Yeah, I'll make the motion as you stated.
So we have a
There we
motion
go.
from Mr. Schuman. We have a second. Second from Lieutenant Johnson. Mr. Schuman, for the record, your motion is to send a recommendation to the county board approving an amendment to the bylaws pending the outcome of the vote from the Surrey County full board
Yep, and then we'll bring it back here in April for a 3/4 vote from this committee.
to fully ratify the
Yes.
change of the.
Yes, sir.
Any more discussion? Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, the call for the vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Tweet, I lost it again. Is there anything else under that agenda item? Madam Clerk.
No, except the diversion services update by Justice Point. Item D.
Is it okay if I share my screen?
Right, so, all right, next we have Criminal Justice Coordinator update. This is Diversion Services update by Justice Point. Everyone has your name?
I'm Nikki Wright from Justice Point. So one, we have diversion update on there. We have had a couple meetings now with the district attorney's office to talk about diversion. And the made some requests about receiving the screening assessment that Melissa is doing and Becky is doing over at the jail. And you guys have made some referrals. And so that's where we're at with that. We don't have anyone actively in diversion yet at this time. So I did want to share with you some of the data about what we've actively been doing. Since the last CJCC meeting, we let you guys know who of the partner agencies that we've met with. We've since met with Health and Human Services. We've also met with the LCO Recovery Clinic to talk about how we can coordinate services and referrals. And those were both good meetings. And currently right now on pretrial release, we have 52 individuals who are being supervised by Melissa and Becky. So just a reminder that we're contracted for 50 individuals on pretrial supervision. But since we don't have anyone in diversion right now, I mean, we're willing to be a little flexible about how many people we're supervising on pretrial. But as the case numbers get higher, if people aren't falling off because of sentencing, that's something that we'll need to talk about. So our breakdown for that is there's of the 52 individuals being supervised, 58% are male, 42% are female. There's our age breakdown, 19 to 25, 26 to 31, 32 to 38, 39 to 45, 46 to 51, and greater than 52. And then we also have our race breakdown. By percentages, we have 3% of the individuals being supervised identify as African American, 31% identify as Caucasian, 1% identify as Hispanic, 46% identify as Native American, and 19% identify as other. And Melissa and Becky have been getting some answers when they ask the question, like human is what people are answering. Or we don't have the information listed elsewhere, so that's what other is. For our screening total, Melissa and Becky have screened 120 individuals since our start date in January. And then our breakdown for that, 40% of those being female, 83% being male. Our racial breakdown, 3% African American, 29% Caucasian, 3% Hispanic, 51% Native American, and 29% identifying as other. Sorry, I don't know why that says 0 on there. And then the age breakdown as well. And then on electronic monitoring, we have 10 individuals so far that were electronic monitoring. 2 of those individuals have the GPS bracelet as well as the alcohol monitoring, the CAM bracelet. So there's some other things that we're working on being able to report out on for you as well. And that would be what the risk evaluation score is versus what level of supervision individuals are being released on. And the reason we can't do that right now is because we're doing a paper assessment sheet and that's being uploaded into our system. So there's not a data element that we're entering into the system right now. So we need to figure out how to take that from the paper scoring sheet and get it electronically so that we can report out on those numbers. And then conditions ordered, we can also report out on that. And then I'm wondering, I'd like to hear from this group as to what sorts of things you would like us to be reporting out on. I mean, of course, we will, once that happens, report out on how many people, you know, successfully went through pretrial supervision or successfully went through diversion. But we just haven't had that turnover yet.
Any questions regarding, well, any responses to your question regarding information?
So are we tracking people who fail to show up for dates?
Yes. So
And causes related to that?
I'm sorry.
And causes related to why they don't show up?
So what they're reporting out on, is that what you'd like to know?
I'd like to know first off, what percentage of people don't show up for their court dates, in other words, and therefore a warrant is issued for them for failure to show up? And then secondly, what methods are we using to notify people of their court dates? And I want to see if there's a correlation between what we're doing, if it's effective or if it's not effective.
Sure.
So if we're just sending them a letter and they're moving to 4 different houses and that letter's not getting to them, that's not effective.
Yeah.
If we're sending them a text message and they're getting it, so we need to know why they're not showing up, I guess. You know, and I don't know what method we're using to communicate to them what their court date is. And if there's a correlation between not using the correct method to notify them.
Sure. So we can tell you for individuals who are on pretrial supervision, if they are having failure to appear, so we can definitely tell you that. And then we can tell you how we're contacting people. So we're not sending letters unless that's a last resort. So Melissa and Becky would be contacting for any contact information that we have, whether that be the individual's phone number and if they can receive text, or they have an email account, or if they have a emergency contact or collateral contact. So we can tell you those things, but I don't know that we would be able to effectively report out on why people didn't show up. We could tell you, yes, they were notified of their court date. We could tell you if we got a response, like a confirmation, yep, I know that I have court, but we wouldn't really be able to tell you why they didn't come.
Yeah, usually by the time they don't show up for court, they haven't been in contact with us either.
Yeah.
And we're still tracking, we're like trying to track them down, so.
Okay.
Is there a way to get a written report available for this committee so that it has it in their handbook or handout, or at least in the packet?
Yeah.
And then if you want to coordinate with the clerk to have a cutoff date, so that, you know, so it's not like you don't need a constant daily update, but at least
Right.
you have a monthly report in terms of the services that are being offered.
Sure. Would it be okay if we did, so if I compiled all of March's information at the end of March, and then that was available for the April CJCC meeting? So then we did it monthly?
Whatever works, because you
Okay.
have two entities that are concerned or interested in your numbers. One is going to be the tribal side.
Yep.
They're going to want to see what the tribal member participation is, and then you're going to the county side, you're going to need to see what the breakdown of people in Justice Point and, you know, where they're going with their. So it's going to be a while. We're going to see this report. We're going to ask questions, and we're probably going to need either modified information or something else, but at least we'll have something, a starting point to work.
Sure.
How much is this information is releasable to the public?
Everything I reported out on today is releasable to the public. The only thing that wouldn't be releasable is if we had some HIPAA protected information, so that would be specific to treatment programs, and that's only when they're connected to a name. And that's not data we're showing you.
Any other questions on Justice Point? Mr.
Yeah,
Schumer?
well, Mickey, I think the tribe would be very much interested in the barriers too, if we can identify them or how we can collect that data. Because, you know, we're looking at possibly a Zoom meeting room out at the tribal court, and then also a scheduling officer to assist these people on making sure they make it and providing some transportation for them to get here or to the Zoom meeting room. So that information would be very important to us.
Sure. So I'm trying to think about ways that we could collect this. I mean, if we're making contact with people to remind them of court, and they're telling us that they're not going to appear, and they're telling us why, we can definitely report out on that. But for people who aren't in contact with us, I don't see a way for us to know from them why they're having barriers getting to court.
And a lot of our court reminders will send the text or call out, and then they don't call back or text back to say like, yeah, we got it. But then they show up in court, you know, so it's like, at least we put it out there, but we don't usually hear back. Like, oh, thanks for the reminder, got it.
Yeah.
It's very rare that we actually hear back from those reminders.
So I think we can report out definitely on what information we have. It just might be some anecdotal information and not like raw numbers that we can give you about, this many people didn't show up because they didn't have a ride, or, because I don't know that it would help if we don't have the whole cohort of people. I don't know how much that would tell you.
Sure.
Well, it's gonna be a work in progress, so we're not gonna have it perfect anyway. So let's just have a baseline information that we can look at monthly, and then based on the different questions that arise, different initiatives that we have going forward, that we can see how that can be modified, what's permissible.
Okay.
Any other questions for Justice Point?
Reed has his hand up.
I have one.
Reed,
Good morning, or actually good afternoon. I was wondering, I think I heard that the state is getting, or is going to start getting the assessments done at the jail. I was wondering if the Public Defender's Office could also receive that assessment as well for bail.
Yeah, do you guys have an email that we could send that? I talked to the public defender's office, or not public defender's office, I talked to the DA's office, and they said they didn't know who was representing who until they get into court. And so usually by then it's too late for one of us to send it over.
For sure. I can follow up with you and get you the email address.
Okay, thank you.
Cool, thanks.
Reed, I was wondering, do you have any social workers, a social worker on staff in connection with the public defender's office?
We do. We have one person that works in all three of our offices. So she's available. I wouldn't say that she's as her ability to be as responsive as just for Sawyer County, but we do have someone that works with us, yes.
So would that person be a good person to be in connection with Justice Point in terms of coordinating things?
Definitely. I can definitely have her follow up with Justice Point and see what they can work out.
That'd be great.
any other questions for Justice Point? Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 9, Community Services, Tweed. We don't have LCO Healing Center here, and we don't have a contact information for Jason.
I did get it. He called today and said he should be here next month. Mr. Fleming.
Okay.
Mr. Hoogland?
Jason
Mr. Fleming?
Fleming. Oh, gotcha.
So I guess we'll set that out for April. And then Mr. Hilgendorf,
Yeah,
floor is yours, sir.
okay. April 5th is going to be the official open date of the Greater Hayward House of Hope. We were hoping to get it in March, but of course everything takes a little longer than we're anticipating. But we have hired a gentleman by the name of Paul Zilli. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him.
How do you spell that?
Zilly. And he is going to be the coordinator there. And he's from Washburn County, and he fits perfect into what we're looking for because he is a carpenter by trade. And one of the things we're working on, we've got a number of business people already involved with us, of employing the guys who are going to be a part of there and training them into the carpentry trade. And so that is getting put together, and we have the applications and all the paperwork, all that stuff is ready and everything to go. And so it's been an exciting time, and the community support has been unbelievably awesome. So we had a tremendous open house, about 75 people at it in spite of the snowstorm. We had the guy from Hope Gospel Mission in Eau Claire, actually, he and his wife drove all the way up. Another group from Osceola, Church of the Felons. I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary that's been done on that, but working with people who've come out of really rough backgrounds, and we're all kind of interconnecting. And it's really good to see. And so we're excited about where we're at here with this. It's been a long process, but we're finally to the point of opening. So, any questions?
What's the, how many people, how many?
Initially, they're going to take 2. Make sure we get the bugs worked out, and the most probably would be 5.
Is it possible to get a couple of applications to keep on file? Just so we have them?
Yeah, I've got some right here.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, I'll put up your list.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Schumer.
Gary, how are you gonna sustain this building? Is it-
Well, yeah, basically right now it's just been from private donations and the churches. And we've been getting a lot from both. And then with the work that they're going to be putting together, that's going to take a little bit. But eventually that will be a source of income as well. So.
Okay.
And we applied for a grant, but because of a technicality, the city was supposed to apply instead of us as an individual. And so they kicked it back and said, nope, city had to apply. So that's what happened on the other thing. So right now we've got a lot of monthly support coming in from individuals and from churches. So,
Sure.
and we're open to tribal support, you know, if you'd like that.
You should send us requests because that's very much needed.
Okay.
Any questions for Mr. Hilgendorf? Again, hands raised. All right, so the date for next month's meeting, we want to look at their calendars. Do we have what's the meeting schedule for next month? When do we start off? When's public safety?
It's the fourth.
Should be either the first or the eighth. Is it the eighth? Why is it the eighth? Mr. Hoff.
It's because the April county board meeting is on a Tuesday. You know, by statute, that county board meeting is always a little bit different. So then that pushes all the committees ahead a week on the schedule because the county board meeting is on the 20th.
Also, we're starting on the eighth, right? Okay. All right. Any suggestions? Otherwise,
The week of the 12th through the 15th, the sheriff and I are out for that, for the conference.
How about the 21st?
I'm out for the 21st, but I can have somebody,
what about the 7th?
7th is good.
7th at noon.
7th at noon.
I'm good.
All right, April 7th at noon. Any objections? All right, we've completed the agenda. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.